Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today is 7th of October and it's a mainstream training session. And today we have Dr. Bill William for the training, and the platform is yours, Dr. Bill, and you are allowed to share as well.
Good to see everyone. We'll try to get a good teaching today, and let me put my screen up. There we go. How is that? That look good? No, what we'll do is we will talk about emotional intelligence. We talked last time quite a bit about emotional intelligence, and it was about understanding, what is emotional intelligence, and we really focused on self-management last time. Self-awareness last time. That was like understanding where you are. So we're going to be talking today about the next level up in emotional intelligence, which is self-management. And that self-management is really where you start to go beyond just knowing that you have this situation develop, and you actually start to manage that emotional component. So by definition, self-management is your ability to use your awareness of your emotional experience to positively shift the environment around you. Now, having control really does put you in the driver's seat. It's like riding as a passenger or riding as a driver. Who has more control? I know a lot of time your spouse wants to be what we call in America, a backseat driver. They want to push the brake or turn the car on their own, but you've got the wheel, so you really make the choices, don't you? So if you'll take action, the question is going to be, what will you do? You're going to take some action. You're going to do something, but what is it you're going to do? And anytime that there is a stimulus, you're going to take an action to do one thing or the other. Are you going to run? Or are you going to fight? They call it the flight or fight mechanism. A lot of times, that's when the adrenaline flows in your body. Do you know physiology well enough to know that whenever you get into a frightening situation, a tense situation where you get upset, your body pumps out adrenaline, epinephrine. It pumps it out into your system in little amounts, and it makes your body get tense, makes your brain get wired, it makes your stomach get queasy, but it also makes your muscles be more effective so you can run faster, fight harder. And so it's a physiological reaction to a mental stimulus. And self-management in action is your ability to control yourself in the midst of chemical reactions, where this epinephrine is charging your body with fight or flight thoughts and mechanisms and body responses, but your mental status can actually overcome what your body wants to do, run or fight. It can help you stay aware. So that's how you start. You understand that there's something going on around you. You have awareness. And then you check in and go, I realize that this is happening. I'm being triggered. I'm being set up by my body reacting to something that's an outside stimulus. So the best course of action, you weigh the options, look around, go, okay, I could do this, this, or that. What could I do? And once you recognize you have a course of action, then you evaluate the best one. And in most cases, it's the one that's going to have the best effect on your outcome. Or maybe you're dealing with clients and it's going to be the best outcome for the client. You manage that emotional reaction. You put things in perspective. You understand the consequences if you do one thing versus another thing. And you make a choice between which way is the best way to go. How do you get better? Well, it's through continuous practice. You can't just get better by saying, I'm going to be better. You got to recognize that there's a problem or, have an awareness of an emotional situation. And then you check in and go, okay, I know the best courses that are available to me. Which way should I go? You manage those reactions and you just practice. And as you keep going, you get better. So we're talking management potential. We're talking looking over the situation where you're in charge of the situation. Maybe you're the manager of a number of people and you have to look at it in a different way. And so what I've got high-level management, starting with myself. So first of all, we are patient and understanding. We don't lash out. We don't knee-jerk react. Knee-jerk reactions are dangerous and they can provoke people to do things you don't want them to do. And they could set you on a downward spiral if you're in a group to where you lose respect. So knee-jerk reactions you want to be careful of. You want to be patient and move slowly. And a lot of people will give the advice, listen a long time and speak for a short time. Or listen carefully and speak wisely. Those are admonitions. So when you listen well and then you communicate well, that means you're not going to make a mistake. You're not going to say something that's going to come back and bite you. That's part of self-management, is to take stock of what is happening and say the right words instead of what you first think. Weigh the consequences before you communicate. That's part of emotional intelligence, is holding your tongue when your tongue could get you in trouble. So you want to confront conflict situations well. When people don't agree and you got two opposite sides opposing each other with different opinions, it's often the first one that speaks that loses. And so you want to be able to listen without blurting out the wrong words, right? So confrontation is natural. You want to confront certain things, but you just don't want to do it in the wrong way. And so people with high emotional intelligence will be the ones who are considerate and understand the situation before they speak. A lot of times the answer that people want to give will cause a deal to fail. So they have to think about it and have what's called the growth mindset. That means for your business to grow, you don't need to sometimes react and say the first thing you think. You need to think of what's going to be best for your business, or best for your family, or best for the client, best for yourself. All things considered. The growth mindset is what moves you further along to your final goal, not to what's happening right now in front of you. Sometimes what's happening right in front of you is not conducive to your final goals. And so you just have to weather that storm, let it pass. And as we said, physiologically, when adrenaline flows in your body, it only flows for a short time and then it settles back to normal. You always have adrenaline flowing, but it's at low levels. And so the growth mindset may mean that you're going to learn how to deal with these emotional challenges that come. Self-awareness and self-management are all about self-leadership. You can't lead your team well unless you're willing to lead yourself. And so in the early discussions of emotional intelligence, we always talk about first you manage yourself before you manage your team. You can't manage the entire situation if you can't manage yourself. And so the leader needs to put in some time to become emotionally intelligent, to become a good leader. A person that's self-aware and has good self-management will tend to rise up in an organization because everybody looks at them as somebody who's level-headed and wise. Somebody who's hot-tempered and not balanced will be seen as somebody who's a danger to the organization, and they will not rise up in an organization. They will not rise up in a business, and they actually won't be successful in life if they tend to be hot-headed and not balanced. So think about it as a lifestyle that you can aspire to be emotionally intelligent so that you can be successful in life as well as in business. So that's pretty much the PowerPoint presentation that I wanted to give you guys. So we'll turn this one off and we'll go back to Q&As and talking and taking questions from all of you guys. I'll open this thing back up now.
Okay, Dr. Bill, I just needed to ask you, can we have a link of these presentations for our what to say revision and just to look at again and again? Is it possible?
Can you get these slides, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could send you a copy of them so that you can use them and adapt them to any way you'd like. No problem at all.
Thank you so much for that.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Can you please stop share so we'll go for the questionnaires?
I'm looking to stop share. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to put up the questionnaire in the written form, that would be excellent. We found that to be a good system.
Yeah. Do you have a link or I just reshare it with you?
Is it in the chat?
No,
I
that's
see it.
form. Okay.
The
This
form in
is-
the chat.
The form is in chat, but I'm just gonna share a link just for you to open it. This is the question answer sheet where they put their question and it's already shared it with you. So I'm just gonna share it now for you.
Okay, good.
Okay, can you please open this? Everyone kindly leave your questions in the question form. So Dr. Bill will reply you effectively. Otherwise, you will raise your hands and mostly questions will be like not answered. We still don't have any question from you people. We are waiting for it. You don't have to come to this sheet actually. You just have to type a question in a question answer form. In a question form actually.
So today we're starting at what number? 24, 25, right in there?
It is
26.
74. The number of attendees?
Yeah, I'm looking at the first question, I think is 24 today. Is that right?
It is actually 7th of, let me see.
No, those are from 9/16. So no new questions yet.
Oh, no, just hold on. We have questions. If you will go to the questions, there's a tab next to the previous questions. There's a tab. There are questions on 33, row number 33. Can you see that? Okay, fine. Let me share it for you. So you will go there. You are in previous questions right now, Dr. Bill.
Where am I?
You are on this sheet, but you have to go to this tab, the questions tab.
See if I can find where you are.
Can you please see my screen in Zoom?
Okay, so I need to be looking at this screen right here. Mhm.
Yeah, in the questions. Okay. May I
Okay.
may I stop my screen now?
Yeah, I think I know where you are now. Questions.
Okay, you can open them. You can share your screen now.
Let's see where we are now. You want me to share my screen or you want it?
You share your screen.
Okay. There we are. Does that look good?
Yes. Okay. Well, yes, this is the question. We
How?
started.
Sure. How to Number 32, how to make people realize that our emotions matter. Well, they've got to be emotionally intelligent to understand, because that's what we're teaching here, is that we do believe emotions do matter. It's not all about the numbers in a business. It's not all about winning. It's not all about being right all the time. It's like how people feel matters. And so there's got to be courses, classes, handouts given to the team. And you got to discuss emotions. You've got to discuss emotional intelligence. You know, I think the way to discuss emotions is to do a class on emotional intelligence. Emotions is hard to discuss. Emotional intelligence is easy to discuss. And so it makes it a framework that you can work around when you got a class such as we're doing right now, because it breaks down all the portions of emotions and it gives people a framework to understand them. Emotions is not something people normally think about in terms of learning about them. They have them, but they don't learn about them. And they don't know what goes together to make up an emotion and how emotions actually cause failure in business or failure in the family. They just know how they feel. So that's the point. You need teaching on it. Next question. What is more important, spiritual quotient or emotional quotient? Now, I'm not familiar with the terms spiritual quotient, so I really can't address that totally. Somebody might put an answer in the chat as to what SQ is. I know IQ is intelligence quotient, and I do know that that's an important factor in life success for many people. If you've got IQ, then you can understand things at a higher level, but you can be successful without a high IQ. And you can be successful actually without a high EQ, but you're going to be more successful in both cases with a higher IQ or a higher EQ. You can't learn too much to be more intelligent, but you can learn to be more emotionally intelligent. IQs can't be actually learned that much. Book learning is not the same as IQ. You know, IQ is more like what DNA and genetics gave you at birth. And you can improve your IQ with book learning up to just a certain amount. But your ability to learn is pretty much related to what you were inherited. On the other hand, EQ, you can take anybody with no emotional intelligence and train them up to be very intelligent, because it's a learned skill, and practice makes perfect with EQ. So, and I don't know what SQ is, so let me know what it is and we'll talk about it. Another one says, I'm a restaurant manager. I always have to face subordinate issues like someone's sick, someone's late, someone's a no-show. It makes my temperament loose and affects my performance. What should I do? It makes me the same way when I'm a dentist with a bunch of team members that have these same issues. So a restaurant, a dental office, a retail store, we all face the same problems. When employees don't show up on time and fulfill their promise to be there, we have to cover. So there's a couple of techniques that I use. Is I have backup plans built into the employment. I always staff for the busiest times we have. And so I'd rather have a few extra people than not enough people to serve the people I'm supposed to be serving. I'd rather have a few extras that could fill in. I always like to have a call list to get in people that would be able to work for me when somebody goes out on a leave. Like if somebody's on a 2-week vacation, if I had somebody could come in and work for 2 weeks, that would be ideal. Now, if they come in sick, I need cross training. I need people who can go from the front to the back, who can go from wait staff to even cooking. I need people that are cross trained. So you can do that in a business, cross training. You might have somebody who is in a management position who could drop in and do something in the line work. So that happens a lot of times in our office. When somebody calls in sick, the managers become workers and they're cross-trained to do that. It's in their job description. They have to perform every task And so you write your job prescriptions up and you get people cross-trained and they could flow back and forth to different positions. So that helps. What helps to control emotions, or how can one control emotions? Practice, practice. Like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. You need to have options, no options, what can be done. And, if you can't control your emotions to a certain degree, you won't be effective in life. If your emotions are out of control, you need to do some personal counseling or reading on your own, but you need some help. Control of emotions is a life skill. If you don't have skills, you'll not be successful. And so if you can't control the emotion of fear, you'll always, shy away from things that are challenging to you. If you can't control envy, you'll always look at people's attitudes and motives, and you'll think, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So there's a lot of different emotions you can tag, and addictions lead to a lot of emotional issues. And if you're addicted to something, whether it's gambling or alcohol or a drug, anything you're addicted to, that is an emotional issue. So you need to realize, why do you do the things that you're addicted to? So if you're depressed, you might be addicted. You might be looking at, needing counseling or needing to talk to your rabbi, pastor, imam, whoever you look to as a spiritual guidance person. Next question is, how does self-management help an individual to improve his or her skills in building wealth? That's a good question there. I like that question. Somebody who's interested in building wealth will need to take the path towards building wealth that leads them to the place of having options. And the only time you have options is when people like you. And so if you have the ability to hang out in groups and be a valuable member of a group, if you have self-management, that means you're going to rise up in a group and be seen as more valuable. If you can't manage yourself, people are not going to trust you to go into leadership positions. And so you're typically not going to get opportunities. And so building wealth is about having opportunities to move up in life, move up in a job, move up in a career. So I think it's really key to have emotional intelligence, and self-management is just part of the overall building of emotional intelligence. How can self-management help a company's ER strategies? ER. So what is ER? As far as initials, what does that mean? I don't want to mistake what ER is. Somebody could write that in there. Or you can tell me if you know it. Who knows what ER is? Anybody got the answer to what ER is? Employee relations? Would that be ER?
I think ER strategy that we have learned already in previous lecture. Better, little bit better, X strategy.
We have Iram Fawad who have asked this question. Iram, can you please reply?
Yes, thank you so much. Mr. Bill, I just wanted to know that the ER strategies that we have learned from you, that we are going to just make it better and going faster and better for your company. So how does this self-management helps a company to perform better?
Is ER the same thing as EQ? And is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't understand what ER was. You're
Well, it was a spell check. No, it's a mistake. It's a spell thing. So sorry.
That's okay. The ER is the emergency department of the hospital to me.
I know. I know. It's
So EQ,
EQ actually. Yeah.
okay, just clarification. See, that's part of emotional intelligence is not to answer the wrong question. If it doesn't make sense to me, then ask the question. There's no dumb question, right? So how
Yeah.
can self-management help a company EQ strategy? Well, you know, if a
Yeah.
company had an EQ strategy, that company would be a lot smarter than the average company because most companies don't have a strategy to put EQ in place for their whole company. Only when you have a smart CEO do you have a company that has intelligence enough to address behavior and emotional intelligence. So the fact that you're actually talking about it means you're in a superior company. The fact that you actually work on self-management, HR, human relation managers should all be trained in EQ. Every one of the HR managers in a company should be extremely trained in this particular area. And I would suspect that most of the big companies have a lot of training in EQ at some point. And sometimes they might not call it EQ. You know, they might have a different name for it. But I think any company that's got something going for it is going to have training in that area. How do you balance work and personal life? How do you plan the work? Do you follow any particular strategy? Yeah, I talk a lot about the cross of life. When I talk about balance in life, the cross of life is you strike a balance between your work, your personal time, I call it playtime, your family time, and your spiritual life. So work is what you do to earn money. What you do on your off time is personal time. And then that's divided into what you do by yourself and then with your family. So that's personal. Family has to be a big part of it, of course. You can't live without your family. But you don't need to be 100% with your family. You need to have alone time for self development, for rest, relaxation mentally. You know how it is when you're with the kids 100% of the time, they drive you crazy, right? And you need time. So that's important. All families should understand that the members of the family need time to contemplate and read and study by themselves. And then you always have to have spiritual groundedness and basis. And so those who believe in a higher being will have a specific time they spend, that they are in church and synagogue, in mosque, in nature, you know, wherever they spend their time. And so balance comes from understanding that you need to put a certain amount of time with each of those. And I like to do a kind of a goal sheet in each of the 4 areas. Say what I want to accomplish in these areas this quarter. And so I'll make a goal sheet every 3 months. And that goal sheet for the quarter will include things that I want to do in each of the 4 quadrants: my family and my business, my spiritual and my personal life. By doing that, you ensure that you have balance and you don't spend all your time working, or you don't spend all your time goofing off, spending time just being selfish, you might say, just spending all the time on your own, and you're not giving your family enough time. And if you're not giving your business enough time, you're going to starve. So you got to spend enough time in your business to take care of your needs, financial needs, right? The next question is, how do you overcome emotional intelligence between generations? Father and son as mother and daughter and even boss. Yeah, not all young people are emotionally intelligent because they don't have the years of wisdom. So they tend to be a little bit different from the older generations, you know. I'm an older generation guy, so I tend to look at things from the older generation, the mom and the pop the granddad eyes, and I see things that young people do that are not very emotionally intelligent. Now, if you're a young person, you may look up and go, that old guy's not very emotionally intelligent because, they don't understand what I know. It goes both ways. The generations don't see eye to eye. And there may be emotional intelligence lacking between the generations. It all comes from understanding the environment. Some older folks don't understand the environment. They didn't keep up. Some younger people don't understand the environment because they haven't had the wisdom of the ages and the experience of life that teaches a lot. So I think it goes both ways. We could probably learn from each other as generations. And one of the best things you can do as a young person is to read books and to read autobiographies and biographies of people that were successful and learn what they did. I learned early on from Napoleon Hill from a book called Think and Grow Rich, because it synthesized the work of many of the world's most successful people into one book. Napoleon Hill interviewed like 20, 30 different, 100 different successful people and wrote down what they did that made them successful. And so if you're interested in having an understanding of how the world works, reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is probably one of the classics. There's a lot of books like that. I just got one sent to me called A Royal Law Strategy by Harold Semkus, Semkus. And that book kind of is similar to Think and Grow Rich in that it gives some tried and true principles from spiritual perspective all the way to business perspective, how to be successful. So all these things that you can do to get emotionally intelligent, they all come back to the wisdom that's been generated through the years. Next question. How can we calculate our IQ? Is there a formula to calculate at what level of emotional intelligence we are at? So not IQ, but EQ. Remember, EQ is different from IQ. IQ is something you measure on a test. EQ, can it be measured on a test? Yes, it can. We'll actually get to that in our 5th lesson. So I will be telling you the resources where you can measure your EQ and you can get a sense of whether you're on the right track to being very emotionally intelligent or not. So you can measure it. Next question is, can emotional intelligence be learned, or to what extent, and what benefits in my personal and professional life? It can be learned. It is something you can practice. You can develop it. Yes. The extent that you learn it will be just depends on how much you practice it. I mean, there's a certain amount you need to survive. There's a certain amount you need to thrive. And the more you have, the more you thrive. Thriving is doing well. The benefits to you personally are that you'll have more friends, you'll influence more people, you will have the ability to sway people to your side when you do things with the right emotional intelligence. You'll run people off and you'll lose opportunities if you don't have the right way to communicate. So emotional intelligence is about communication. It's about being understood. It's about understanding others so that you might make the right decisions at the right time. And, personal and professional growth are tied together. If you can't grow personally, you probably won't grow professionally. If you want to be a successful professional, you'll educate yourself and you'll train yourself to be in control of your emotions so that they don't tear down any opportunity you have for that growth. These are very good questions you guys are asking. They're right on track with what we're talking about. So the next question is, can emotional intelligence, no, you covered that one. What effect does this communication have on others? Other people will see you as wiser, smarter, and easier to get along with if you learn these techniques, these communication skills. They're not just communication skills, they're understanding how the world works skills. They're your ability to observe and understand. There's a term in German called Gestalt, and that word means that you can look at one thing and understand everything. In other words, if you understand a little bit about how the world works and you have Gestalt, that means you understand everything about how the world works. And being emotionally intelligent is kind of like part of that. You can observe what's going on around you, and you can understand the impact of everything that's happening on other people and on yourself. And we're going to talk about social awareness in a future talk together. But when you see the whole world unfolding around you and you realize this is going to impact other people in a certain way, then you're emotionally intelligent. You have an awareness of what's going on around you to the point where a sound or a flash of light or something that shows up in the woods tells you something. And if you're a creature of the woods and you live in the woods, you understand that sound and that light means something. And that's kind of the way it is in business. If you hear something or see something in business, you know it's going to affect other people. And emotionally aware people will take it in and absorb it and make decisions based on all input rather than just being blindsided by things that show up in their environment suddenly when they could have been aware ahead of time. Next question. I have kind of a fear that what will happen is if this project would fail or be troubled, then I don't take that project. Is this something related to emotional intelligence? Yeah, if you look at a project that you don't feel comfortable taking and you don't take it because you fear what might happen, it's called fear of failure. And I think fear of failure actually comes down to one point: fear of man. What other people will think of you? Fear of man is what drives a lot of people to do things or not do things. In this case, fear of what other people think of you. If you fail and people know you fail, that might drive you to not take on challenges. And so at your inner core, in your inner being, you want to be successful, you want to be liked, you want to be seen as a good person. And if you fail, you may feel like others are going to look at you as a bad person or that you're not successful. So instead of putting yourself in that position of looking like you aren't a success, you just don't take on the job. And so you hesitate. How do you overcome that? Well, you have to prepare yourself to succeed. If you don't prepare yourself to succeed, you will fail a lot of time. And so the way you prepare yourself to succeed is you get your education, you understand what's involved in what's going on, and you learn from your mistakes. Then none of us were an expert before we started. Before I became a dentist, I was not a dentist. Before I was an orthodontist, a dentist who could do braces, I was not capable of doing braces, but I took the training, I took the classes and became an orthodontist. And before I could do implant dentistry, I would never put an implant in somebody's jawbone until I took the classes to place implants. Soon enough, I became an expert in both of those and I taught other dentists how to do implants and orthodontics. And so you take a step at a time, you take a class into the beginning of something, then you take a class as a practiced person who knows what's going on, an advanced class, and then you become an expert in that and you teach other people how to do it. So we have a saying, see one, do one, teach one. That means you need to actually see it before you can do it. You need to do it before you can teach it. And you just move up the chain and the ladder of success by becoming experienced. And that's the thing that young people don't have. yet they don't have experience. So they have to go through the steps to become knowledgeable. Then they have to become experienced before they can become expert. It's the expert who gets paid the money. It's the expert who gets the titles. It's the experts who become the leaders. And so you have to go through the chain of growth, and having high EQ is part of that growth. The more you become an expert in EQ, the faster you'll go up the chain. All right, so that is the last question I see so far. If anybody wants to add another one, we can do verbal questions also.
We have a question from Faisal Yaqub. He wants you to type the name of the second book you mentioned in the chat.
Which group?
Faisal bhai, are you there?
You talking about
Hi,
my
doctor.
group? You talking about my group?
No, Doctor. Dr. Bill, you mentioned two books in your discussion.
Oh, yeah.
One of the book was Think and Grow Rich, and I just want to know the name of the second book you mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'll actually, it's The Royal Law Strategy, Your Guide to Permanent Prosperity. Here's a picture of it.
Okay. Can you please type the name of the book in the chat?
I'll do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually wrote the foreword to that book. The author asked me to write the foreword to it, so that was kind of fun to get to be part of that. I need to figure out how to make this bigger.
You're gonna type it in your in this question sheet.
There it is. I was looking.
Okay, you just type it somewhere. I will make
Not
it
yet.
big.
I was having to find it. By this is in German. It's a German fellow who works in the United States. So it's published in Germany, but it's in English, the book. Royal Law Strategy by Harold Simkus. Okay. And the other one, of course, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Royal Law Strategy was written in 2021. Napoleon's Hill book was probably written in 1920 or 25, somewhere back in there. And it's one of the most published books in the history of the world.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
You're welcome. In 1981, somebody recommended Think and Grow Rich to me. And from reading that book, one of the things it asks you to do is make a list of goals. And I wrote down 20 goals. In 1 year, I had accomplished 18 of them. And the next year, I accomplished all 20. And so writing down goals is one of the most important things you can ever do. And as I mentioned earlier, if you write down goals in 4 quadrants, your business, your life, personal life, your family life, and your spiritual life, if you put all 4 down and keep those current every 3 months and just keep working that list of goals, you'll accomplish most of them in shorter time than the time you set out to accomplish them. Any other question?
I have sent a question in question form.
There is a question in a question form.
There's a couple of more questions coming in, I see. Often my mood or emotions affect my thoughts and decision-making. Is it difficult for anyone to admit when he is wrong? It is difficult for people to admit they're wrong because of self-esteem issues and how you fear what other people think of you. So, you know, the highly intelligent person, emotionally intelligent person will not hesitate to admit they're wrong when they are wrong. And I know some people who are so emotionally intelligent, they'll admit they're wrong when they're not wrong, just so that they can keep the conversation going with a client, for instance. They will take the high road and say, yeah, you're probably right, even though the client may be actually wrong. So, you know, your mood and your emotions need not rule you. You can have a higher purpose than letting your personal mood, your personal emotion rule how you're going to react. It takes a little bit of a power within you to overcome the mood or the emotion. And so you just have to be strong. You have to develop the mental muscle to overlook the physiologic reactions you're going to have to people who are ugly, to who are, you know, if you're in customer support and you don't react well to people who are upset, you won't succeed as a customer support person, because the reason people call support usually is because they're upset. Something's wrong. And so you got to have emotional strength. And, you know, anybody who's customer support related, dealing with the public, they got to be strong, put up with a lot of negative emotion coming out of other people, and you can't react to it. You just have to observe, be self-aware of yourself, how you react to what they're doing, and don't buy into what they're doing. Just understand what they're doing, not buy in. Be strong and practice, you know. Whenever you're in a situation, the first thing we said was be aware. You know, once you're aware, then you go from there. Okay, we got time for one or two more questions, and then we'll call it a day. It's been a great session. I think you guys are really coming along fine. Understanding EQ, you're really, when you ask the right questions, it means your intelligence is going up.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bill. We have only 6 minutes left, and I believe you have replied all the questions. And if we have any other question, they will put in a sheet. They have the link of the form and the sheet as well. So on Monday, we can continue further. Is it okay?
Yeah, we'll go further into the next segment, and I'll get you the slides that we're using so you can have copies to use from now on. You translate them into your language if you want to.
Thank you so
Make
much.
it even
That will be a
easier,
great favor
yeah.
for us. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a tab in the same link, which is the presentation. You just put the link there. I will pick it from there. Okay.
All right.
In the same sheet, I'm gonna paste. I'm gonna make a tab now for presentations. You can see in your screen as well. Is it there now? You just paste the links, and this is my email address. You just share it with me. I will later on I will share it with everyone. This is my email address on which you have to share with me.
You're sharing it where?
Once you will put your link here, so it should be shared with someone. Either it will share it with everyone, or it will share with me. So if you will share it with me, I will distribute it with the with everyone who have joined this session.
Yeah, I'll share it with you and then you can distribute it.
Yeah.
Which
Then I will
email?
share, then I will share it with them later on.
What email you want me to send it to?
Sorry?
The PowerPoint slides, right?
Yeah, PowerPoint slides.
Yeah. What email should I send it to?
Mhm.
You can put that in the chat.
Okay, I'm going to do that. Faisal bhai, do you have a meeting after this meeting?
Yeah,
No,
I do.
No, Dr. Bill, I'm just asking for.
We can reschedule that meeting if you have time to guide them about the project.
Okay. Can you please put your Zoom link here? So if this link will be closed after this presentation, we will move to that way. So we will discuss the project as well. Okay.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'm putting this my Zoom link in the Zoom chat here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Bill.
Okay, you guys have a very good, what's today, Thursday? Thursday night? Have a good weekend.
It's Thursday night. It's Thursday night.
So I'll see you on Monday.
Monday. Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care. Bye. Okay, fine everyone. आपके साथ फैसल भाई ने अपना लिंक शेयर कर दिया है, बट अभी इस पे जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज आई हैव आस्क्ड सर कि हमारा अगर ये लिंक इंक्रीज हो जाए, हमें टाइम तो सा मिल जाए ताकि हम आपके साथ प्रोजेक्ट जो है उसके लिए डिस्कस कर सकें. अगर नहीं हुआ और लिंक ऑफ हो गया तो फैसल भाई का लिंक ऑलरेडी यहाँ पर है. आप लोगों ने इसके अगर ये ऑफ हो जाता है ड्यूरिंग आवर सेशन तो आप इस लिंक
सर
को
ने अलाउ कर दिया है समर बाजी, इसी लिंक पे इसी मीटिंग में ही आप इसको कंटिन्यू करें.
सर ने अलाउ कर दिया इसी लिंक को?
जी अलाउ कर दिए.
ओके, दैट्स गुड देन. एक सेकंड, लेट मी सी.
अच्छा, ये जो अभी हम प्रोजेक्ट डिस्कस करेंगे समर बाजी, इसकी सेपरेट रिकॉर्डिंग कर लीजिएगा ताकि हम इसको यूट्यूब पे अपलोड करें और बाकी प्रोजेक्ट ग्रुप में हम इसको शेयर कर सकें ना.
ओके.